April 12, 1981. Keddie Resort, a secluded rustic vacation spot nestled deep in the Sierra Nevada mountains of Plumas County, California. It was Easter weekend, a time for family and relaxation amidst the natural beauty. Inside Cabin 28, the lives of the Sharp family and their friend were brutally and inexplicably ended, leaving behind a scene of unspeakable horror that would shock a quiet community and baffle investigators for decades. This isn't just a tale of murder. It's a chilling account of a crime scene that defied logic, a missing child, and a small town haunted by an act of savage violence that remains, to this day, completely unsolved. The Keddie cabin murders stand as one of the most gruesome and perplexing cold cases in American history, a stark reminder of the darkness that can infiltrate even the most serene settings. The victims were 36-year-old Glenna Sue Sharp, her 15-year-old son John Sharp, and his 17-year-old friend Dana Wingate. Sue's youngest daughter, Tina Sharp, just 12 years old, was also missing from the scene. Sue's other two children, 10-year-old Sheila and 5-year-old Rick, along with Rick's friend Justin, were found unharmed in another bedroom. It was Sheila who made the horrific discovery when she returned to Cabin 28 on the morning of April 12th after spending the night at a neighbor's cabin. The door was ajar, and as she stepped inside, she was met with a scene that no child should ever witness. Bodies bound and gagged, blood spattered across the walls, and an overwhelming sense of dread. The innocence of Easter morning was shattered by pure, unadulterated terror. The crime scene itself was a nightmare for investigators, filled with baffling details and a chilling display of violence. Sue Sharp, John Sharp, and Dana Wingate were found tied with medical tape and electrical wire. They had been bludgeoned with a hammer and stabbed repeatedly with a steak knife. A partial footprint, a broken steak knife, and a bent-out-of-shape hammer were among the few pieces of evidence left behind. What immediately stood out was the sheer brutality of the attack, suggesting a frenzy or intense anger. Yet despite the obvious struggle, the two other boys in the cabin, Rick and Justin, were asleep in another room and claimed not to have heard a thing. This detail alone defied logic and immediately raised suspicions about who was truly present in that cabin. The missing 12-year-old, Tina Sharp, added another layer of torment to the already horrific scene. Her absence from the cabin meant either she was abducted by the killers or she managed to escape. For months, her family lived in agonizing uncertainty, clinging to a desperate hope that she might still be alive. Tragically, her remains were found 3 years later, in 1984, over 100 miles away in Butte County, near Feather Falls. The discovery confirmed the worst fears, but provided little in the way of answers. Her skull, found with other bones, only deepened the mystery of how she ended up so far from the crime scene and whether her death was part of the original cabin massacre or a separate subsequent act. The initial investigation into the Keddie murders was plagued with missteps, lost evidence, and a lack of coordination between agencies. Plumas County, a small rural area, was ill-equipped to handle such a complex and brutal multiple homicide. Crucial evidence was reportedly mishandled, theories were pursued and abandoned, and the case quickly grew cold. The local sheriff's department faced heavy criticism for their apparent lack of urgency and professionalism. The early days of the investigation, so vital for collecting fresh clues and witness statements, were marred by confusion and perceived incompetence, allowing the perpetrators precious time to escape justice and fade into the shadows. Over the decades, numerous theories have emerged regarding the identities of the killers. One prominent theory centers on two local men, Martin Smartt and John Boubede, who lived near the Sharp family in Keddie. Smartt, a handyman at the resort, was reportedly infatuated with Sue Sharp. He allegedly confessed to his therapist that he had killed Sue. His friend, Boubede, had known mafia figures in Chicago, adding a sinister dimension to their potential involvement. Both men were questioned early on, but never charged. Smartt later wrote a chilling letter to his wife, expressing regret and hinting at violence. This lead, largely ignored initially, resurfaced years later as a key point of interest for new investigators. Another theory involved the possibility of a random act of violence by drifters or transients passing through the secluded area. Keddie Resort, while remote, was accessible, and such brutal crimes are sometimes committed by individuals with no direct connection to their victims. However, the specific targeting of the victims, the binding, and the sheer frenzy of the attack seem to suggest a more personal motive rather than a random act. The fact that Rick and Justin were left unharmed in the other room also implies a selective targeting, further complicating the random act theory. More modern investigations, sparked by renewed interest and a dedicated cold case investigator, have brought new life to the Keddie murders. New evidence has reportedly been found, including a hammer matching the description of the murder weapon from a nearby reservoir in 2016, and DNA evidence that was not thoroughly tested in the original investigation. These developments have reignited hope that the case can finally be solved over 40 years later. The original sheriff who handled the case also claimed he always knew who the killers were, a frustrating and tantalizing detail that only deepened the mystery. The Keddie cabin murders remain a haunting benchmark in American true crime, a testament to unsolved horror and the enduring pain of a family robbed of their loved ones. The gruesome details, the baffling nature of the crime scene, the missing child, and the years of official incompetence have woven a tapestry of dread that continues to captivate and disturb. It serves as a stark reminder of the terror that can be found in seemingly peaceful places and the devastating impact of justice denied. What do you believe happened inside Cabin 28 on that fateful Easter weekend? Who committed these heinous acts, and why were they never brought to justice? The answers remain elusive, hidden in the shadows of the Sierra Nevada mountains. But the quest for truth in the Keddie cabin murders continues. The Forensic Storyteller is eager to hear your theories and insights on this truly terrifying cold case.